Welcome in to the round-by-round values that we're about to smack you with for the first 10 rounds. So, 10 rounds, the best value picks in each round as of the current ADP, where I believe if you're in that round, the player that is the best. Now, of course, if you're picking first overall, take your McCaffreys or whoever you think is worth the #1 overall pick. But this is to find that best value per round. We're going to go 1 through 10. We're going to get into it right now. So let's do it. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, fellas. I hope you're having a beautiful day today. Let's start right away with round 1. And also, smack the like button if you have a second of your time. Now, in round 1, the best value that I'm currently seeing is Austin Ekeler. Austin Ekeler goes on average with the 12th overall pick, the last pick of the first round. I have him ranked as my 8th overall player this year, and let me tell you why. Austin Ekeler lacks any real backfield competition. I mean, there's Joshua Kelly, there's a pick in Larry Roundtree, and there's Justin Jackson, and one of those guys is probably getting cut, and none of them have ever shown any ability to really be any sort of threat to Austin Ekeler. Since Melvin Gordon has gone, he is an elite part of this offense. I mean, look at just last year. Austin Ekeler last year only played 10 games. He was banged up. And in 10 games, he still ranked 8th in running back overall targets with 65. 6.5 targets per game. He had a #2 on his team behind Keenan Allen, 17.3% target share at the running back position. That ranked 4th overall. He was efficient as well in the passing game. #5 in yards per route run. He had over 93 total yards per game. But the big thing, only 3 touchdowns. That is going to change, especially when he plays in 6 more games. I have him projected and statted out for a 17-game season for 6.7 touchdowns, more than double the touchdowns this year compared to last, assuming that he stays healthy. And now Austin Ekeler has the benefits of being attached to a potential top 5 offense. Yes, they ended up improving their offensive line. They got the all-pro #1 ranked center in the NFL last year, Corey Linsley, who ended up leaving the Packers and signed in free agency with the Chargers. They ended up getting a steal in the draft in Rashawn Slater, who many thought could have gone top 10 overall. He makes it outside the top 10 to the Chargers. So improved offensive line play, now one of the best offensive lines, quickly from being one of the worst offensive lines on paper heading into 2021. I mean, the only real downsides here are maybe his own potential health, being undersized as always, but as an undrafted free agent, he has been efficient and elite almost every single year he's been in the league on a per-touch basis. And then now that there's fans back in the stadiums, does that mess with Justin Herbert at all? When he's on the road, is it a different story now? That's going to be a big question for many second-year players who had success as rookies without the crowd noise and that added element of pressure. It does mean something, of course, but Austin Ekeler in his 6 games after returning from injury week 12 last year finished as the RB8, the RB24, the RB8, the RB15, and the RB15. You know what that is? That's every single week being a top 25 running back except one and being an RB15 or better in 4 of the 6 weeks. And that was when Justin Herbert was cooking down the home stretch of his rookie of the year. Best value in round 1 is Mr. Austin Ekeler. Now, as we get into the second round value, let me know who is the guy in the first round that you think is the best value currently in the comments section. Let's get some interaction down there. Would love to see what you all think. The best value in round 2 is a player who I think looks a lot like Austin Ekeler, and I actually have him ranked higher than Ekeler. But based on ADP, this is the best value in round 2. He's going 16th overall, so the 4th pick in the second round. He's my #5 overall player. Yes, I take him in the top 5 in drafts right now. I take him right before Derrick Henry. I take him before Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, the before-mentioned Austin Ekeler. And that man's name is the Green Bay Packers running back, Aaron Jones. Look, Aaron Jones gets his Aaron Rodgers back. This is a man who is a touchdown machine. He only had a 60% opportunity share last year. I say only because Jamal Williams was there. A.J. Dillon was factored in a little bit down the stretch. And with that 60% opportunity share, he still saw 18.8 opportunities per game. So now if that can rise by 5 to 10%, and now you're seeing 20 opportunities per game for Aaron Jones, a guy who already is heavily used in the red zone, 11 touchdowns last year, after tied for the league lead in touchdowns the year before with Christian McCaffrey for over 17. Yes, this is going to potentially regress, but it might actually regress positive for a 14 touchdown season. So he gets Aaron Rodgers back. There is now no Jamal Williams in this backfield. He saw a 14.5% target share, which was only behind Devontae Adams on this team. He is the team's #2 wide receiver. He is by far and away the team's #1 running back. He just signed a contract where they invested in him, so you can expect him to see more touches overall. And there's a narrative out there that A.J. Dillon is now the goal line back. Look, if you have followed the Packers at all over the past 10 to 15 to 20 years, they don't use goal line backs. Maybe with John Kuhn when they had a fullback, they used that a little bit. I would tell you, yes, that might be true. But when they're in their one-back sets, it's rotations. So if Aaron Jones gets his 2 series and then A.J. Dillon comes on for 1, if A.J. Dillon's in that series, the Packers happen to get to the goal line, sure, he'll be the goal line back. Otherwise, it's Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is a goal line running back. They just rotate series. They don't rotate players out at the goal line. The Packers have never done that, and I don't expect them to this year. The upside here for Aaron Jones is #1 overall player, the Alvin Kamara upside, if you will, of a 18 to 20% target share while also dominating on the ground and in the red zone. The best value in round 2 is indeed Mr. Aaron Jones. So, take a little breather there. As we get into round 3 now, it's going to be another running back. And the first couple of rounds are going to be running backs. And here's the main reason why. People are getting their first 2 running backs early. I like to do this a lot. Snag a first round and a second round running back, and then don't take another running back until maybe like round 8. And if that's the case, you're getting a lot of wide receivers, maybe some tight ends and quarterbacks to go in those rounds 3 through 7 for the most part. So it's leaving running backs there to fall a little bit more, creating the opportunity for value. So when I talk about 3 running backs in a row, like this man right here, who is my number 23 overall running back, meaning I would be okay taking him at the end of the second, although you never have to because he's going 38th overall. You can take him at the end of the 3rd or the beginning of the 4th right now, right? So that's why, use the ranks, but don't overreach for players. And that would be Chris Carson. Look, there is a major emphasis in camp right now, out of the first 3 days of camp, to get all of the running backs involved in the passing game. Not just Chris Carson. They're talking about Rashad Penny, even Alex Collins, who's never even, I think, heard the word reception in his life. But this was an emphasis leading into camp 2 years ago in the preseason, and we saw that a little bit. Carson just has not been able to stay healthy. They have an upgraded offensive line now. They ended up trying to make Russ happy by trading and going to Oakland and saying, hey, you're fire selling your whole line. Can we get one of those guys? So there's slightly an upgrade at the offensive line position. Carlos Hyde is now gone, who I would have said is more of a threat because he actually stays durable than Rashad Penny, who we have now not seen anything out of the former first-round pick and basically is 5 years in the league. Penny's also coming off of an injury. They say that he's looking better now, but Chris Carson is in line for an offense that, again, could be a top 5 to top 10 offense. He is in line for a team that wants to be run first, apparently, with Russ Wilson. Still scratching my head on that one. But he's in line for big usage here and an opportunity share that spikes upwards of 60%. He is the best value for me in round 3. All right, I promise this is the last running back for a little while, but we slide on a late night to my 4th round value. This player is my number 28 overall player. I've talked about him in some other videos. Again, I am a lot higher than the market on him. That does not mean I'm taking him in the 3rd round when right now he's going 44th overall, meaning that you can get him in towards usually the mid to end of the 4th and maybe even in the 5th round. So if you see this guy on the board in the 3rd round, just know you don't have to reach on him. And we can adjust the rankings to account for that. So if you want to check out the rankings, they're down below for a limited time, only for free in the draft guide, the 2021 Supreme Fantasy Football 2021 draft guide. But this man's name, again, my 28 overall, 44th overall he's going, is Mr. Miles Sanders. And I know a lot of you might have got burnt by Miles Sanders last year, but you might have got burnt just because he got injured. I mean, this was a guy through 12 games who was on pace for over 1,400 yards last year. He now, looking, and I had somebody on TikTok, and yes, I'm making TikToks now, check it out. Somebody on TikTok, when I made a Miles Sanders video, said, oh, but they're saying they want to get all the running backs involved. That was one report from a coach in camp that just said, yeah, we have a lot of talented guys here. Obviously, they draft Kenny Gainwell, Boston Scott for like a 6th rounder has been decent for them. They bring in some guys like Carrion just to compete for a roster spot with Jordan Howard, right? So they don't really have too much talent there. I would say Kenny Gainwell and Miles Sanders, and that's about it. And they said that they want to get all their guys involved. That quote somebody took as, oh, this is going to be a 3 to 4 way running back by committee. No, it's not. Last year, Boston Scott and Jordan Howard, and definitely not this year, Carrion Johnson, none of those guys are going to be a threat, and they never have been a threat to Miles Sanders' workload, a man who was number 3 in snap share last year. If anything, Kenny Gainwell might be a threat to his passing game volume, but he is a 5th round pick that I don't think is going to be the case immediately. He should now have a healthier offensive line, and now that Carson Wentz is out of there, Carson Wentz, who had a 10% drop in his completion percentage, which is a massive drop, is now out of there. Yes, Jalen Hurts is not that accurate, but you're hoping that that is at least a little bit better and at least a step forward for your case for Miles Sanders, my best value in round number 4. And yes, we are now not hitting the running backs in round 5. We're going to hit a wide receiver for you. If you're still here right now, consider hitting the subscribe button because this is the growth season. This video is coming out right now. I'm recording it and coming out the same day, the end of July. I'm up right now at 5 a.m. The end of July, tomorrow is August, and August starts the insane growth season, or at least we hope to have an insane growth season for this channel, fantasy football in general, as we go all the way through to the Super Bowl in February. Football content is dropping every single day. Every day. Not a day will be missed on this channel until the motherfucking Super Bowl. So stay tuned. The round 5 best value pick for me, he is my number 42 overall player, and he's going as a number 49. So decent value of 7 spots here. That man's name is Diontae Johnson. Now, a lot of people think Diontae Johnson is just a slot wide receiver. Well, first of all, he's not. He only played 7.5% of his snaps out of the slot, believe it or not. But they think that because he usually operated in the short to intermediate routes. And maybe that was partially due to Big Ben's shoulder, only targeting Chase Claypool deep downfield. But Diontae Johnson did only post a 6.4% yards per target, number 98 in the league, which people think lacks upside. But I don't think so. I mean, if you look at Matt Harmon's reception perception, he was still running a lot of routes downfield. They just weren't targeting him as much, but that can easily change. Again, this guy wasn't in the slot. Juju was in the slot, and already in camp, they have been saying that Juju is going to be exclusively a slot receiver. So Diontae and Chase Claypool still on the outside. Now, Diontae is strong at separating and getting release on the underneath stuff. Can we see it on the over-top stuff? I think we did last year. We just never actually saw targets going his way. Despite everything, though, in terms of being this short intermediate receiver, he was number 6 last year in targets, despite missing a game and having 2 games left early for injury and 1 game being benched. He was benched week 14 versus Buffalo for drops. That was a primetime game. He only played 48% of the snaps. So there was 3.5 games that he didn't even play in, and he was still number 6 in targets. That's how much Big Ben liked targeting him. And this guy broke out as a special teams player in college, his rookie year as a special teams player. These are all great indicators for future success in the NFL. Games where he actually fully played saw his 75 to 80+% snap roll. There's only 12 of those games. In 10 of those games, he had 10 or more targets. So 83.3% of the games, he saw double-digit targets. In 58.3 of those games, he was a top 15 receiver. And in 42% of those games, he was a top 10 wide receiver. Lots of upside here. Wheels up for Diontae Johnson, a value right now in the 5th round. Let's stick to another receiver here. And he's not a third-year player like Diontae, but he is a second-year player. And that is Jerry Jeudy. My number 59 overall player goes off the board as number 68. So 9-spot difference here for me. I think that there's nice value here. Again, Matt Harmon's reception perception has him winning in man coverage 75% of the time. And that's with no Cortland Sutton last year. That's with the defense knowing that, okay, we have Tim Patrick, we have KJ Hamler out here. They have no real actual threats. Tim Patrick is surely decent, I agree, and underrated, but no real actual threats outside of Jerry Jeudy, who can beat us deep with speed and route running. And he still won 75% of the time. That was up there with Stephon Diggs and Davante Adams. That is predictive of a breakout season in 1 to 2 years, and this would be that timeline. Now, the obvious thing holding him back is potentially Drew Lock, and Drew Lock right now is in camp with Teddy Bridgewater. It's funny every single day who wins the camp, who goes 7 of 12 in camp with a touchdown, and who has an interception between him and Teddy. Teddy was number 1 in accuracy last year. Now, he wasn't great overall, but very much like Phillip Rivers, they set him up for success in the short to intermediate range in accurate passes last year, just like the Colts did with Phillip Rivers. So if that's the case, if you could just get more accurate passes and accurate deep passes, Teddy was to DJ Moore last year, that sets up nicely for Jerry Jeudy heading into his sophomore campaign, my round 6 value right now. Now let's slide into number 7, where we switch from running back. We switch from wide receiver, and we head over to quarterback, believe it or not. Round 7 right now, you can get Russell Wilson. My number 61 overall player is going as a massive value as number 74 overall. So I'm fine taking him right now at the beginning of, honestly, the 6th round. I don't take him there often, but he falls often to the 7th round. Look, you have 2 stud wide receivers. The only draft pick that they spent on offense, and Dwayne Eskridge, they didn't have many draft picks, only 3. He's already on the PUP list, so that stinks with a toe injury, so it really sucks there. Freddie Swain, a draft pick last year, might fill in for him, they're saying early on. They go and get Gerald Everett. They have the running game where they want to use the running backs more. And, oh, yeah, Russ has some mobile upside. But here's the big thing. They're getting him in the 7th round for a guy who has an upgraded offensive line and could potentially be the number 1 overall quarterback in fantasy. How does he get there? He needs to see that mobile rushing upside come back like it did in the first half of last year. If that's the case, you're getting a round 4 quarterback like a Kyler Murray or a Josh Allen or maybe even a Lamar in the 7th round. And even if it's not the case to a great extent, you're getting a round 5 quarterback in the 7th round. So Russ, the best value in round 7. Now we stick to the quarterback position, and this is going to change, so be sure to take advantage of it in drafts right now. Aaron Rodgers is currently my number 83 overall player. He is going off the board as 96 overall. Now, Aaron Rodgers has some mobile upside, but not elite mobile upside, and that really caps his season. I mean, Aaron Rodgers last year had an MVP season, balled the fuck out, and still only finished 3rd amongst quarterbacks. That would have been first 5 to 7 years ago. But since Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen and these guys with mobile upside are now a thing, it's really easy for them, based on fantasy scoring, to finish higher. So I'm not as high on Aaron Rodgers. I still think that he's a top 8 quarterback, but not top 5 in fantasy this year. That being said, though, because of this potential holdout and all that, you're still getting a massive discount. Even after a week of him being back, it's still a discount, and it will be for a little while. Now, it's going to correct probably come the end of August, but hopefully you're watching this before that, and even if not, be sure to check it out. You might still get a slight value in Aaron Rodgers. Now, we know the TD percentage is going to come down, but in terms of his overall career, it's not like it's going to plummet to 5%. It might go from 9% to still above league average at 7% touchdown rate, and we still know that they're going to throw by the red zone. Maybe not as much as last year, where they just threw so many times down by the red zone to Davante Adams, but probably still going to throw a decent amount with Robert Tonyan, Big Bog Tonyan coming back. Adams now, and also a red zone favorite and overall favorite now back with the team in Randall Cobb. And yes, this offense did improve. You have the addition of Amari Rodgers. You have Randall Cobb. They didn't have a slot receiver last year. They were forcing Allen Lazard, an outside plus receiver, to go into the slot, where he was not comfortable with. He was also not healthy. He was injured, and he had success in the first 2 games, then he gets injured, and you don't see much more. Now they have 2 traditional slot receivers in Amari Rodgers and Randall Cobb. Now they have depth on the outside of behind Davante Adams and MVS with an Allen Lazard. MVS has been practicing in the offseason the most he ever has, and the first time really with Davante Adams on route running. That is good to see. The videos coming out, they're just videos against air, but that's at least good to see. So an improved offense is what we're probably going into here for Aaron Rodgers. Now, they don't have David Bakhtiari. They lose Corey Linsley. That's concerns. They didn't re-sign Rick Wagner, but they at least went out there and got Dennis Kelly, one of the better offensive linemen on the market from the Titans. 16 games last year, looked pretty solid. So Aaron Rodgers, the best value in round 8. We'll finish it up with a couple of receivers. And my number 10, my 10th round value, is probably my favorite out of any of these guys we're going to talk about, to be honest with you, because there's massive upside here for him. But we'll start with number 9, a receiver who is my number 99 overall player. He's barely inside my top 100. We have a top 200 that we draft off of in that draft guide down below if you want to check it out. But he's going 107 overall. And this man's name from the New York Jets is Corey Davis. Look, he's the most proven wide receiver on the roster. He finished top 5 in yards per route run last year. A lot of that is influenced because they use 2 wide receiver sets often, so it can skew it a little bit there. But now he goes into a team where he's going to have a rookie wide receiver in Elijah Moore. He's going to have another veteran, but in the slot, in Jamison Crowder. A second-year player in Denzel Mims, who apparently is running with the 3rd-string wide receivers now in camp. When he went to the 2nd string, I was like, no way. Now he's on the 3rd string. I don't know what's going on here. It's very similar to Dante Pettis. If you remember with Kyle Shanahan, he has that nice year, and Denzel Mims didn't have a nice year, but his rookie year, and then he comes out, and in camp, they're like, he's not even running with the 1s. He's not even running with the 2s. There's some talk about him not getting along with the coach, and it's just very interesting with Denzel Mims. But regardless, they have Chris Herndon no longer in the first team reps. So this team right now is basically hoping that a rookie Elijah Moore can ball out a little bit. They're relying on Keelan Cole to be an outside receiver who majority of his time the last 2 years has been spent in the slot. So if you're talking about only actual traditional outside wide receiver right now for this team, oh yeah, that's Corey Davis, who just came off of the best year of his career, and people are still discounting him and not buying into it. You have Zach Wilson, who, say what you want about him at number 2 overall, he has a big arm, and he's going to take shots downfield, and right now there's nobody proven more downfield as a weapon, right, than actually Corey Davis. There's just nobody else on this roster if Denzel Mims isn't going to be playing all that much. So I think this is a good fit for Zach Wilson. I think it's a good value in round 9. Now, drum roll, please, like right now this video, if you will, as we finish it up with round 10. This is my favorite guy because I have him 79th overall, and he's going 117th overall. Almost a 40-spot different. Over a 3-round difference here in my rankings versus where consensus is on this guy. And it's just because fantasy Twitter is hyping up another guy in his receiving core. That man's name is Marvin Jones. In round 10, he is by far the best value. He's already having a strong camp connection with Lawrence. Lawrence has already said that he loves throwing him the ball. A big target is what he said. He is the clear number 1 in camp after the first week is what they're saying. And again, that can always change. But everybody wants to hype up Laviska Shenault. Laviska Shenault had a fine rookie season at best. I know he has a quarterback upgrade now, but everybody is just assuming that Laviska Shenault is going to become this dominating slot plus Chris Godwin 2 years ago, but then some because of his mobile upside on end arounds and screenplays and whatever it might be. I think Laviska Shenault, who is a massive athlete in terms of all of his measurables, has a lot of upside to break out in his 2nd year. I also think that an outside receiver in Marvin Jones, who when healthy with the Lions almost every single year, was a top 20 wide receiver, and now he gets a actual quarterback upgrade. If we're talking about Matthew Stafford coming out in the draft, was a high prospect, right? A number 1 overall prospect. But now you're talking about a player who's coming out in Trevor Lawrence, who's been the best prospect way before Matthew Stafford. So you're getting a potential quarterback upgrade, or at least a similar skilled player. Yeah, I like that. I like that for Marvin Jones. And a lot of people, there's a really good chance that he will end up after camp being the number 1 wide receiver for this team. Even at 30 years old, I get it. DJ Shark has had a lot of trouble separating. That's a concern. Laviska Shenault is inexperienced, and people are trying to project in this massive leap, whereas Marvin Jones has done it week in and week out when healthy for the past 5 to 6 years. Be a fantasy relevant top 24, can be a wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2 any given week. I like Marvin Jones the most out of this list. Hopefully he stuck around to get that little nugget. Now, I take Marvin Jones often. I get him in the 9th and 10th round. It's fantastic. Sometimes he just fell to me in the 11th round. I have this guy graded out as like a 7th to 8th round pick, the number 1 wide receiver on a team that's got Trevor Lawrence in an improving offensive line and overall offense. That's exciting. So there you go. Those are the top 10 rounds and the best values in each round right now. Now, of course, these will change throughout camp as we get more news. Maybe we'll circle back to this video later on in camp, but for the most part, it should stay relevant over the next month or so, and that's when exactly you'll be using it to draft. So if you've watched this video, if you really enjoyed it, if you want more videos like this, let me know in the comment section what type of videos you would like to see. And also, if you're here right now, please do hit the like and subscribe button if you made it all the way through this video, and check out the Fantasy Football 2021 Supreme Draft Guide. Limited time only for free, a way to get it if you are eligible, down below in the description. You all rock, and I'll see your beautiful faces, all you beautiful people out there, in the next video.